You know, I never thought that the first video that I make on Tokusatsu for this channel would be on Super Sentai. I really thought it would be Kamen Rider, but I mean, here we are. And the reason for that is because the first interaction I ever had with a Super Sentai fan was traumatizing, to say the least. This is also going to be the first video I make on a show that is currently airing, so we're breaking all kinds of new ground today. When I finally mustered up the courage to start Lupin Ranger vs. Pat Ranger last year, I absolutely loved it. And that's why I decided to move on to the current show, Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulger, which just so happens to be the topic of today's video. More specifically, I'm talking about the characters. Ryusoulger has this interesting issue where it creates amazing, compelling characters, but for the sake of the story, forces them to do things outside of their personality to further the plot. He's created a lot of awkward interactions and situations that appear once with no explanation. It's mainly only with the Sentai team as well. The villains' motivations and actions are in line with each other and are extremely entertaining. The first major offense to the characters that I noticed was to Ryusoulger Pink, or Asuna. We finally get some redemption to that accursed name. In episode 10, she meets a boy named Mori who's going through some tough times. He's recently hurt his friend and inadvertently ruined his friend's dream. While fighting the Minosaur, she jumps over to save him from some debris and hurts herself in the process. However, because of this, she's able to learn more about him and eventually deduce that he was the one the Minosaur was created from. She only finds this out because of the way Melto, Ko, and the rest are discussing the Minosaur and how to beat it. It's pretty clear that it came from Mori because of the similarities to boxing and being defensive. When she tries to chime in, however, everyone shuts her down really quick, and they even tell her, this is extremely different from how they've acted towards her previously, and it came out of nowhere. The three of them have worked together really well from the beginning, and while they've had their disputes, they've never dismissed another person's input for an arbitrary reason like they did here. While it was off-putting enough for this one scene, later when Melto and Ko find Asuna, they never apologize. Melto gives some weak excuse about her always talking about food, and Ko tells him to discuss it later. Now, there is an argument to be made that maybe she does talk a lot about food because she's almost always shown eating, but that's never actually shown on camera, at least not to the extent that Melto is describing it as. Some evidence of this could be that the only reason she met Mori is because the "that's one huge chocolate" that she won wasn't in the bag with the rest of her prizes, and at the end of the episode, she gets really bummed out when she thinks they ate without her. This might be their apology to her by buying her a lot of meat to eat for dinner, but Melto and Ko never outright apologize or even seem remotely remorseful for what they did, which is extremely out of character for them. More so Ko, but still Melto up to this point. All this forced writing is so Asuna can have a one-on-one discussion with Mori to calm him down and give her a chance to fight Waizaru and pilot the Dino Knight against the giant Minosaur. And, as is the case with Asuna, things always tend to work out for her. Honestly, I am so thankful they did not write her to do anything out of character because I love her and she is perfect and I could fault her for nothing. The second major offense revolves around a minor incident caused by Bamba, Ryusoulger Black, in episode 18. When he and his brother Toa are first introduced, they are ruthless, and it's insinuated that the way they dealt with Minosaurs was by killing the person the Minosaur was created from. Obviously, it's not something they could show in a kid's program, but during their introduction, they attempt to kill Ui because she is the source of the Minosaur. All this changes when they actually join forces with the rest of the Ryusoulgers and learn that there are other ways to beat Minosaurs without killing the originator. They fully give up on this and are shown to have gone out of their way to save individuals of their own volition, even when it would have been easier not to. So when Bamba's first instinct is to destroy the rock that is causing the Minosaur, it took me by surprise. Not only because of Bamba previously showing that he's given up on solving problems that way, but because Kanalo stopped him and asked him not to do it. This means it wasn't simply an instinct for Bamba, it was a thought-out decision. There's no hesitation on his part either. I mean, I guess Bamba could be putting on airs, but it wouldn't really make sense for him to take off that mask now in front of the whole team. This conflict between Kanalo and Bamba was created just to give Kanalo more hesitation in joining the team, and to show that killing the source of the Minosaur's energy doesn't always fix the issue. A new issue arises here because you can't kill a stone. When you split a stone in two, you simply have two stones. In contrast to the issue with Asuna's story, Bamba actually does apologize in his own way. He goes back to protect the wishing stone from Waizaru so it can't be split any further. He's still an ass, and pretends to be a tough guy by claiming he only did it to stop more Minosaurs from being created. But that fits in perfectly with his dark, brooding archetype. Now, I've talked a lot about Minosaurs, and I've teased a little bit about Wazadu, and it's finally time to jump into them. The Minosaurs are not the main villain of the series. That title goes to the Druidons. The Minosaurs are simply created by Druidons in their attempt to take over the planet. So far, there's only been a handful of Druidons we've been introduced to, but they feel like a legitimate threat, even though their plans get foiled every time. Wazadu seems to be one of the stronger leaders, but in all actuality, he's a coward. He creates plans in order to trap or weaken the Ryu soldiers instead of fighting them. This doesn't stop him from thinking he's the cream of the crop, though. He's extremely boastful, and this boastfulness comes with a wide variety of entertainment from his creations and those around him. It's important to note that this doesn't make him weak. He's like a gamer that levels up his character until he can fight the final boss with ease. One of my favorite moments of Wazadu is in episode 10 when he's fighting Asuna. He asks her to show him what she can do, and then sends 5 goons after her. Of course, Wazadu only does this after taunting her while she's holding onto Mori to save him and can't do anything against him. It all fits his character to a T, and he never compromises on his goal, which is to take over the planet while looking as cool as possible doing so. Wazadu's cool and all, but my favorite Druidon and second favorite character in the series is Creon. Is Creon a boy? Is Creon a girl? Is Creon a mushroom slime monster? Yes to the third one. The other two don't really matter. What does matter is that Creon is young and naive. This must be why they are named Creon, because that's almost exactly crayon, which is typically something that only kids use. Oh, does that make this video kid-friendly now? Regardless of that, Creon is the one who is creating the Minosaurs. They're created from Creon slime, and it seems like they're the only one who has this ability, and the other Druidons take advantage of this, especially Gakireus, who works Creon like a slave to further his goals. This fails because he wears them out and they eventually pass out from exhaustion. Creon never really liked Gakireus because of this, and Wazadu's opposite approach is exactly what Creon loves. He loves to have fun while doing the job, which is perfect for Creon. I mean, what kid doesn't like to have fun and play around? This doesn't mean that they are sympathetic to humans though. In fact, they just might be the most sadistic and twisted. Creon takes immense joy in creating Minosaurs and causing humans to suffer. You could probably consider it a pastime of theirs. This is why I believe they like Tancho so much. Tancho is not the most fun to be around. He doesn't even let them laugh on the job, but Creon loves to be around him anyways. Tancho even allows some of Creon's crazy antics by accepting their point card, and when he gets brought back to life, Creon awards him 500 million points for his point card. I wonder what he can trade all those points in for. Tancho just wants to conquer the planet as efficiently as he can by overpowering them, and Creon loves to help in any way they can. Now, this next part is just a theory, a seaweed theory. So take it with a grain of salt and keep in mind that at the time of writing this, I've only seen up to episode 22. I believe that Creon is the strongest Druidon by far, and I mean no contest with any of the others. And the first evidence for this is something I mentioned a while back. They create Minosaurs. That is such an incredible power, and if they put that power to work, they could easily overpower the Ryu soldiers with a sheer number of Minosaurs. Creon is also extremely young, as we can see from both the way they act and simply the design of them. They're much shorter than the rest of the Druidons, and the clothes they wear are similar to bloomers and a small shirt that a young child might wear. Damn it! Again, with the kid-friendly content. Creon's age might not make them seem like they could be very powerful, but currently they are only slightly less powerful in combat than other Druidons like Tancho and Wazadu. This means they have plenty of room to grow and can only get stronger from here. Now, everything I've talked about with the Druidons so far might seem like a tangent that has nothing to do with the video. However, because the Druidons are written without contradictions and have such cool personalities, it's so much fun to talk about them for hours on end. It's also much harder to have any theories on the Ryu soldiers as it stands. The little we do know about them has been contradicted enough, which makes it feel like it's not worth actually discussing, because they could do something so out of line with their character that it's hard to even get a grasp on how they'll react next. Even after all of this negativity I've talked about with the Ryu soldiers, I still don't think they're bad characters. The big issue is that they're being used to further the plot in convenient ways that they would never do otherwise. It's almost like the characters are square pegs being shaped to fit the story's round hole. Hopefully the writers have written the future episodes around the characters instead of trying to fit them in as an afterthought. Alright, so this is more so like a tip for like all my editors out there, you know, but this is what I like to call the editor's toolbox. So essentially, it's just a box of oatmeal, right? Any kind. I mean, I don't really like the variety packs. Like the semi-spice is pretty garbage, honestly. But the CVS only had, maple and brown sugar, so whatever. Anyways, so this is step one. Get your Quaker Oats, 10 bags. Pretty simple and pretty effective for an all-night editing session. And then what you want to do? Monster, energy drink, really any kind of energy drink you want. It's just all they have. But yeah, can you guys shut the fuck up